last night we had UFC 326 take place, and during the main card, we had the White House card get announced, and they told us, all the fights that were going to be on that card. So I'm gonna give you my reaction and thoughts on the full fight card. So let's get into it. Main event, we have iliatopuria versus Justin Gaethje. Now, a lot of people speculated this fight was going to happen. I kind of had a feeling this fight was going to happen. This or Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. But, we got this fight. And, yeah, man, I mean, not much to say. We know what's going to happen. Justin Gaethje's going to get knocked out. And, yeah, man, that's what's going to happen. And this was the only fight that could have been made just because there was nobody else that could really, represent the U.S. and fight for a title. No one deserving besides John Jones, who is not going to be fighting in the White House. Dana White said that during the post-fight press conference, and Kayla Harrison, who just had a surgery, and who we might talk about later in the video. But this fight's going to be the main event, and yeah, I mean it's a good fight. Everyone was waiting for Ilya to return just because he got that really fast KO knockout against Charles Oliveira. But yeah, this is a very interesting fight. Very entertaining fight. It's going to be entertaining because some like Justin said, someone's going to get knocked out. We know who's going to get knocked out. But yeah. Next up, we have Alex Pereira versus cirylgane. Now we know that Alex Pereira vacated his title in light heavyweight, and we knew he was gonna move up, but we didn't know who he was gonna fight. Now I made a video about when Alex Pereira vacated, and I was speculating that it could have been Pereira versus Gane or Pereira versus Jones, and I leaned more into the Gane side, and that's what we got. We got Alex Pereira versus cirylgane, and that's our co-main event. And I gotta go with Alex Pereira, man. I think Alex Pereira is gonna win this relatively easily. It's going to be a kickboxing match. cirylgane's a kickboxer, and obviously Pereira is. And I think Alex Pereira wins this just because he's got that knockout power, and he's a lot more deadlier on the feet. cirylgane's never really got a KO, especially like a one punch KO. Never really rocked anybody, and I mean he's not really a danger on the feet. He's more of like or he is a very technical fighter, and he's more of a trying to win points, trying to win a decision. And Alex Pereira isn't that. He's looking for that finish. And that's why, you have to go with the guy that's looking and actually getting the finishes, which is Alex Pereira. So, yeah, I have to go with Pereira. And yeah, I mean, I expected this fight to be on the White House card just because Alex Pereira did vacate. But yeah, man, these two title fights are really good. And, they're what the UFC promised. The UFC promised a really stacked card. Now, everything after this kind of lowers my expectation just because the UFC promised a lot, right? And they did the same with UFC 300, which did deliver. But they did the same with this. We waited like a year and a half, a year and a half, something like that, for honestly what I would call a regular pay per view. A regular card. It's nothing out of it doesn't blow me out of the water. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's just a regular pay per view in my opinion. Just because, like I said, the fights after this are nothing special. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this fight. And next up, now the feature fight is Sean O'Malley versus aiemannzahabi. And when I first heard about this came out of a left field. I was extremely surprised. I don't know why Zahabi's fighting Sean O'Malley. Just weird. Maybe because he's Canadian, so U.S. versus Canada. But besides that, I don't really know why he would be fighting O'Malley. This most likely is going to be for a number one contender. This most likely is going to be a number one contender fight. Even though O'Malley doesn't deserve to fight for the belt. But yeah, just because Sahabi's on a little run of his own. He's been I think he's like in a 3-4 fight win streak, something like that. And yeah, I mean, I would preferably I think a perfect feature fight would be Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen. I mean, I've been calling for that for the longest. I've been wanting that. Corey Sandhagen wants that fight. He's been calling out O'Malley. And O'Malley, I wouldn't say he's scared of him. I wouldn't say he's ducking him, but he's just not accepting that fight. I don't know why, but I feel like that fight would have made a lot more sense than this. Um, but at the end of the day, I have to go with O'Malley. I don't think Zahabi's, anything special. And Zahabi has almost gotten finished in most of his fights. He almost got finished against Cheeto. He almost got finished by Jose Aldo. And, O'Malley's got that knockout power. I think this is an easy win for O'Malley. I think he will be able to find that finish. And yeah, and mostly I think that's why the UFC made this fight, just because it's a very winnable fight for O'Malley, and it's against a guy that's on a little bit of a run of his own. So I think that's why the UFC made this fight. But like I said, in a perfect world, I would want O'Malley versus Sandhagen, but we're not getting that. Um, and I think that would have made the card a lot more stacked. That would help. But with Zahabi, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like I said, this when I first heard about it, it just caught me by surprise. So yeah. Next up, we have Mauricio Hufi versus Michael Chandler. Now, this is a good fight. Um, I don't know if it's White House material, but it is a good fight. Um, we know why it's on the card because Michael Chandler is a glazer. He glazes Dana White. He glazes Donald Trump. And he glazes anybody that he wants to fight. AKA Conor McGregor. He's been on behind Conor McGregor. He's wasted his career for like the past 2 3 years now, and I think this is an easy one for Hoofy. I don't think Hoofy is ranked. Correct me in the comments, but I don't think he's ranked. And Chandler is definitely ranked, and I know what the UFC is trying to do. They know that Michael Chandler's done. He's at the tail end of his career, and they're trying to build up Hoofy. Michael Chandler's a big name. Everyone knows him, and he has a number. At the end of his name. So they're trying to get Hoofy into the rankings and trying to get him a easy win in Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler, he hasn't been looking the best. And, he just got beat up by Paddy Pimblett. He got beat up by Charles Oliveira. And, I mean, his UFC run in general hasn't been good. His last win was Tony Ferguson. I mean, he's only had 2 wins. Tony Ferguson and Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker was a legit win. But, Tony Ferguson wasn't. Tony Ferguson was a shell of himself. And, he should have retired a long time ago. But, yeah, I mean, easy win for Mauricio Hoofy. I think he should be able to get a finish in this fight. Because Michael Chandler, his chin's kind of questionable. He's been getting rocked. And, yeah, I think they're just building up Hoofy for this, trying to get a number on him. And, yeah, I mean, Michael Chandler's going to stay in the UFC for, a little bit longer. I don't think they're going to cut him. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. This is an okay fight, though. I could see this fight being like an opener to the White House card, but not like anything higher than that, in my opinion. Next up. Now, this fight's crazy to me. I don't know how it's on the White House card. Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins. I'm just gonna moment of silence for a little bit. This is an insane fight to put on the White House, man. What are you doing? Bo Nickel does not deserve. See, okay, I'm a rant a little bit. So Bo Nickel was in UFC 300. He wasn't the opener of UFC 300. They had him like the second fight into the card, and they didn't move him into the opening. They didn't move him into the opening spot until we started bitching. We started complaining that like, whoa, why is this guy above? Honestly, I forget who was the opener of the main card before, but everyone started complaining, and then they moved him to the opener, and they're doing the same with this. He's not even the opener. I mean, he doesn't even belong on the White House card, in my opinion. And like I said, I know why he's on the card because he glazes Dana White, he glazes Donald Trump, and yeah, man, that's probably why they put him on. He, like I said, doesn't even belong on the card, and especially against Kyle Dawkins. Like, what kind of matchmaking is this? That's a random ass fight. Like, it's like Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. That a random ass fight on UFC 300. What are you guys doing? That doesn't even belong on the prelims. On that type of card. And it's the same thing here. It doesn't even belong on this card. I don't know what they're doing. If anything, they could have done Bo Nickel versus Colby Covington. You know, they have a little bit of beef. That would have been an interesting fight just because they're both grapplers and wrestlers. So you know, the fight most likely would have been on the feet, but I mean, we can't even go with hypotheticals because that fight's not happening. He's going to be fighting Kyle Dawkins, and I think this is an easy win for Bo Nickel. You know, I just hope that they move him into the opening position because it's ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know how he's above Diego Lopes and Steve Garcia. That's insanity. You know, Diego Lopes is an ex-title challenger, and he has. I mean, he has more stripes than Bo Nickel. He has more accolades than Bo Nickel. I don't know how Bo Nickel's above him. That's that's just crazy. Even Steve Garcia, you could say Steve Garcia has more accolades than Bo Nickel. Um, but yeah, like I said, insanity. Most likely, in my opinion, I think they will be moving Bo Nickel to the opener. But yeah, like I don't know, I don't know. You know, this is my live reaction. You know, so that this is just crazy that he's on the main card, especially not being the opener. But yeah, I would have. I mean, if Bo Nickel had to be on this card, like I said, I would have put him against Colby Covington. I would have done that. But yeah, I mean, we got him, and this is the opener of the White House card. We have Diego Lopes versus Steve Garcia. Now, I don't know why this fight's on here either. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, Steve Garcia is American. Diego Lopes is Mexican slash Brazilian, really Brazilian, but you know. Um, yeah, I mean, we know why this fight's here. Just because Steve Garcia is American, but yeah, I mean, this is an interesting fight to say the least. They both have knockout power. I would say that Diego Lopes has a bigger toolbox and is a lot more well-rounded than Steve Garcia. He's got that wrestling, grappling in his back pocket. Now Steve Garcia has okay wrestling, grappling, but I would say that Lopez is a little bit a higher level than Garcia's in my opinion. But like I said, this fight's interesting. It's like a 60-40 for Lopez in my opinion. Um, if I had to pick, I think Lopez should be able to get the job done. But I wouldn't be surprised if Garcia wins. Garcia can knock out Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez is there to be punched. His head movement's basically non-existent. And yeah, I mean he was getting pieced up by Jean Silva. We've seen that. But yeah, I mean if I had to pick somebody, and I mean these aren't even picks. These are just my thoughts right now. But I'd go with Lopez. I think Lopez should be able to win. Like I said, he has more tools in his shed. So yeah, but yeah, man, these are the fights right here. Iliatopuria versus Justin Gaethje main event. Alexpereira versus cirylgane. O'Malley versus Zahabi. Mauricio Hufi versus Michael Chandler. Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins and Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. And yeah, it's all happening June 14th on a Sunday, to say the least, which is, Donald Trump's birthday. Very odd. But yeah, I mean, UFC Freedom 250. And yeah, like I said, two first fights, pretty good. O'Malley, Zahabi, I would change Zahabi for Corey Sandhagen. Um, Mauricio Hufi, Chandler, I mean, they could stay on the card, maybe a little lower, in my opinion. Bo Nickel versus Colby Covington would be ideal, and definitely the opener of this card. And Lopez Garcia, I mean, it's okay. Overall, though, I mean, it's a good card, man. It's a good card. As you can see, a lot of the comments. Let me move myself right here and over here. You guys can see a lot of the comments. Like this guy says, "What an absolute letdown." That's a normal pay-per-view card in 2020. I mean, that's basically what I said. Someone else said, "Nice prelims. Where's the main card?" Let's see here. Um, oh, I mean, this is just a casual right here. Jones, Connor, Chimaev, Islam. Where are they at? But I mean, you guys can see all this. A lot. Oh, look right here. Same sentiment. This card is mid. Yeah. And I mean, I can see why they feel that way just because, like I said, the UFC hyped this card to be spectacular, like a UFC 300. And it's not, it's just not. Um, but like I said, overall, it's a good card. It's a decent card. It's a regular pay per view. Nothing special. Um, and yeah, I mean, you can't trust Dana White, man. You can't trust him. He sets a high expectation for the cards that he announces, just for us to get let down. Now, whenever he says something like, "Oh, this card's gonna be the best," I'd really, I don't I don't really hold it, you know, I don't really take his word for it, just because I've seen, I've seen what he says, and I've seen his actions, and they're not the same. So yeah, I mean, this card's decent. It's good. Nothing to complain about. We got two title fights. And then one more thing I will say, almost forgot. Like I said, Dana White said that a fight fell out, and honestly, in my opinion, I think it was Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. It makes sense just because Kayla Harrison's American, basically the only American champion that we have right now. And yeah, I think that fight was the one that fell out. It would have made sense. I think it would have been like under Pereira versus Gane. And yeah, I mean, Kayla Harrison just had a neck surgery. Maybe she got injured again. Maybe she wasn't ready. Maybe, anything could have happened. Dana White said that it was a personal issue, something that came up. So who knows what could have happened? I mean, we'll never know. But I think it was Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. And Dana White didn't even want to tell us what the fight was. So most likely that fight's going to get rescheduled for later this year. It's to be determined. But yeah, those are my thoughts and reactions to the whole White House card that got announced yesterday. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know what fights you guys wanted to see in the White House card. Maybe you guys have something else. Maybe you guys cook something else. And yeah, until next time.